Okay, so here we have set up again for those elevated sumo deadlifts against bands. So this exercise targets the hamstrings, glutes, the hips, kind of good bracing of the lower back. So she's going to keep her shins vertical, drive and squeeze using just the button glutes. Good. So we said before, this creates a stretch back here when you're coming down, and it gets the lower part of the glute and the upper part of the hamstrings, and that's what she's using to try to drive into the bar. Excellent. Okay, so next we have here is banded hack squats, and we're doing this with a narrow stance, and we're going to be pausing it parallel, which makes this mostly quads. So she'll pause, 1, 2, squeeze the quads. So pause, 1, 2, squeeze. So back up view, pause, 1, 2, squeeze. Pause, 1, 2, squeeze. Good, pause, 1, 2, squeeze. So by having her do it with a narrow stance, it makes it more quads. By having her stop it parallel rather than dropping all the way to the bottom, makes it more quads. And by adding the bands, it makes it more quads. So, this is for quads. So we're doing this to try to counter the work done with the squat, including the deadlift. Excellent job. You can rack it up. Up for those deadlifts again. And kind of the concept of doing these lifts, the deadlift versus the half squat, is we're taking kind of the squatting motion and we're dividing it up into one of the exercises being the posterior chain, the backside of our body, and the other exercise is quadriceps. So what that allows us to do is to separate them and then train them at different rates, so that way we can balance them out. So I'm going to have her go ahead and walk right over to the hack squat. So if you separate these, you can get kind of the quads versus the backside of the body, and that allows us to change the sets and reps. It allows us to change how we train one versus the other. So if one of them is more dominant in your squat, you can separate them and then train them in the opposite percentage. 1, 2, squeeze, good. So you train them in the opposite percentage with these individual lifts, and that'll balance them out. So say you have more dominant quadriceps, you would split the exercise into 2 movements like this, and you would train the hamstring based exercise to a higher volume and kind of harder intensity. You would still train your strongest muscle, you just don't train it as hard, and over time they both get stronger, but they also balance out. So that keeps you getting stronger, but keeps you both things progressing. Your strong things strong, and it gets your weak things stronger.